such a Kelly lane. Like, I was like, that's...
Mom and Dad are fighting.
Gwen Stefani breaks silence. What Kelly Clarkson revealed about Blake revealed people online have been spinning this whole tangled story about Gwen Stefani, Kelly Clarkson, and Blake Shelton. And honestly, the way the rumors keep snowballing feels like watching a soap opera that nobody meant to write. But everyone somehow adds a chapter to anyway. It all starts with this idea that Kelly and Blake were basically work spouses on The Voice. The kind of duo who traded jokes like siblings, but also leaned on each other during the messy seasons of life. And because of that, fans and gossip pages have decided she somehow had a front row seat to everything happening in Blake's world, including his relationship with Gwen. And once people online think someone has inside knowledge, oh boy, they run with it. They stitch together old interview clips, harmless anecdotes, little moments of eye contact on camera.
Sometimes it's nice to watch Mom and Dad fight.
What's the matter with you?
And suddenly they've built a whole emotional universe nobody actually confirmed. In that universe, Kelly supposedly said some honest, maybe too honest things about Blake and Gwen's marriage. And the story goes that those comments hit Gwen right where she's most sensitive. The part of her that's always tried to keep her world polished and steady and under control. Gwen's entire public story, at least the way fans talk about it, has always looked intentional. The style, the poise, the way she seems to float instead of walk, even when her life is falling apart behind the scenes. Rumor has it that when she heard Kelly Mitov shared opinions that didn't paint the fairy tale picture, she didn't just flinch, she snapped straight into this panicked heartbreak, like someone had pulled the curtain back before she was ready. And because this is the internet, the story only grows more dramatic. People imagine Gwen demanding to know exactly what Blake told Kelly over the years, as if every casual vent session, every joke, every tired confession suddenly became evidence of betrayal.
Now we're going head to head as coaches.
How's this gonna work?
This is war.
The narrative people push is that Kelly's opinions, again, totally speculative, cut deeper because they didn't come from tabloids, but from someone Blake trusted. Someone he once turned to when everything in his world was falling apart. And from there, fans imagine Gwen shutting down completely, freezing Kelly out, refusing calls, maybe even telling Blake to draw some new hard lines. You know how it is when the rumor mill gets going. Suddenly there's talk of ultimatums, of Gwen supposedly saying her, or me, of PR teams jumping into the ring trying to spin things in a brighter direction. And somehow that spirals into this whole new layer of gossip, where Gwen supposedly wants to pull Blake away from the Nashville. Circle all together, the friends, the country icons, that whole ecosystem.
He was so excited and I was so excited, but we were like, this
System where everyone knows everyone's business. People paint her as feeling like an outsider, like she stepped into a world that never fully welcomed her. And now she's tempted to retreat back into the safer, shinier bubble of Los Angeles, where she can craft her own reflection without the peanut gallery chiming in. It's wild really how the internet can take a couple of friendly interviews, a few emotional moments, the natural awkwardness of real relationships, and spin it into a 3-act tragedy about loyalty and love and insecurity. And the funny thing is, sometimes the theories sound almost poetic. Gwen as the Hollywood dreamer trying to keep her world immaculate, Blake as the grounded country guy torn between two versions of home, and Kelly as the truth teller who never sugarcoats anything. Fans take that trio and build entire narratives out of thin air, where small jokes become confessions, short glances become heartbreak, and the quiet spaces in between become the most dramatic scene.
It's all in good fun, but I think
And somewhere in the middle of all this, you can't help imagining how tiring it must be for the real people involved. Waking up to headlines about feelings they never expressed and battles they never fought. Wondering how on earth a simple moment from years ago suddenly resurfaced as evidence. Not gonna lie, I find myself thinking about how easy it is for celebrities to lose control of their own stories once the public decides they already know the truth. It's like the audience becomes the author, and the people actually living the life get reduced to characters in someone else's fanfiction. But that's kind of why these rumor arcs catch fire. They tap into that universal human stuff we all understand: jealousy, insecurity, loyalty, the fear that someone you love might be confiding in someone else a little too deeply. And even though none of this has been confirmed, and most of it's probably stitched together from pure imagination, The emotions
When your girlfriend blocks you, this brings it to a whole new level.
baked into the narrative feel familiar in a weird, cinematic way. You can almost picture Gwen standing in a quiet room, wondering if she misread the whole situation. Kelly laughing something off on camera without realizing fans would later twist it into a confession. Blake stuck in the middle, wishing everyone would just breathe for a second. Somewhere around this point, as I'm thinking about how easily stories morph into something huge and echoing, it feels like the right moment to say, if this video brought you something useful or just made your day a bit brighter, drop a like, subscribe, or share it forward. That simple gesture keeps the whole thing moving. And honestly, whether the rumors are just internet storytelling or smoke from some tiny spark, we'll never fully see. The bigger takeaway is how deeply people connect to the emotional outlines, the fear of losing control, the vulnerability of being misunderstood, the ache of feeling replaced, the longing to be chosen without hesitation. It's the stuff that makes us
Never been with this dynamic, but it's so awesome.
Me fighting
human. And maybe that's why people keep talking about Gwen and Kelly and Blake, not because they know the truth, but because the story lets them explore pieces of their own. So now I'm curious. Have you ever found yourself caught between two worlds the way the internet imagines Blake is? Or felt that sting of someone misunderstanding your story because they only saw the polished outside and not the chaos underneath? And if you sit with this whole rumor-fueled saga long enough, you start realizing
Towards my what?
it's not really even about Gwen or Kelly or Blake as individuals anymore. It's about the way people project their own fears and memories onto celebrities, turning them into mirrors. Something about this particular trio hits a nerve with folks. Maybe because Gwen has always seemed like the girl who reinvented herself 1,000 times, who glues her heart back together, with glitter and lipstick, and still manages to smile for the cameras. Then you've got Kelly, who's built her whole brand on honesty, on being the person who'll say what
last year at something, and I met Zach and
everyone else is too scared to whisper, even if it makes things messy. And Blake, well, Blake is that guy who somehow makes people feel safe. Like you could sit on a porch with him, drink something strong, talk about the heartbreak you swore you'd never admit to, and he'd just nod and understand without judging you. When the internet sticks those three energies into a triangle, it gets combustible real fast. People pick sides not because they know what happened, they don't, but because something in their own life resonates with the roles these celebrities supposedly play. Some folks see Gwen as the woman trying so hard to stay perfect that she forgets she's allowed to just be human. Others see Kelly as the friend who's honest to a fault, the one you love fiercely but sometimes wish would just keep a few thoughts to herself. And Blake,
just
to talk
covered
to them,
him.
they're
I like-
both as country people as they are their music. You know.
Blake, he becomes the man who doesn't know how to balance the emotional load, because he never learned how to say no without breaking someone's heart. So the rumor keeps growing, because it's not really about the three of them, it's about all of us. And the wild part is, once the narrative catches fire, everything starts looking like evidence, even things that were harmless before. A casual joke Kelly made 5 years ago. Suddenly, that becomes the secret clue nobody noticed. Blake looking a little tired in an interview. People decide it's symbolic. Gwen adjusting her hair while someone else is talking. Oh, that must mean she's annoyed, insecure, jealous, plotting her escape. Anything but the obvious reality that she's a human being touching her own head. People forget how much they fill in the blanks. Someone smiles too long, and the comment section decides they're hiding resentment. Someone
Okay, I guess it's lost, like that 90s sound, but it's starting to come back with these new artists, and I love it.
glances sideways, and suddenly there's a feud. It's like we're all detectives in a case that doesn't even exist, stitching together 1,000 disconnected threads until it looks like a tapestry. And once the story becomes juicy enough, nobody wants to let it go. You can practically feel the collective imagination erupting, writing entire emotional scenes these celebrities never lived. They picture Gwen pacing through some quiet hallway in a mansion, holding her phone, scrolling through whispers and speculation that get sharper every minute. They imagine Kelly sitting somewhere in Nashville, maybe sipping coffee and clutching her phone too, wondering how she became the villain in a drama she never auditioned for. And Blake, the rumor mill always puts him in the middle, heavy-hearted, just trying to keep the peace between two worlds he never meant to collide. And the internet doesn't stop there. No, it takes each person's past and folds. it into the story like some kind of emotional origami. Gwen went through a huge public breakup years ago.
Yeah,
Everybody's old now. Kelly.
Yeah. We're in bed by 9.
So the fans decide she must still be hyper-aware, hypersensitive, maybe even a little haunted. They say she's been burned before, and now sees threats everywhere, even in friendships that probably mean no harm at all. Kelly, on the other hand, survived her own heartbreak and rebuilt her life piece by piece. So people project a kind of raw honesty onto her, like she's the woman who can see through everything and call out anything. Meanwhile, Blake is framed as the guy who never quite understands why the women around him are upset until someone explains it to him like an instruction manual. It's all guesswork, but that doesn't stop anyone. The funniest part is how people can take a single moment, maybe something as small as Gwen shifting in her seat while Kelly is talking, and suddenly it's a whole thesis about emotional warfare.
Put me in a vase, but you can't.
Or Kelly laughing a little too loudly at a Blake joke, and the comment section explodes with see, there's something there. It becomes a scavenger hunt for feelings. Fans dig through old episodes, freeze frame expressions, analyze voice tones, compare outfits, circle fingers pointing at nothing. And the whole time, the real people behind the speculation are probably just out grocery shopping, living ordinary days while the internet paints their inner worlds like a mural. And honestly, it makes you think about how easy it is to lose control of your own narrative when millions of eyes are watching. Imagine waking up one day and finding out strangers have decided you're panicking, or plotting, or freezing out a friend, all because they misread a clip from 2018. That's the strange thing about being a celebrity. You live one life in your actual body and a totally different one in the crowd's imagination. The crowd decides which one they prefer, and the more dramatic version almost always wins. People want Gwen to be the icy queen melting down behind closed doors. They want Kelly to be the truth bomb dropping bestie who accidentally starts a fire. They want Blake to be the lovable chaos center, spinning in a tornado of two powerful women. And every time someone retells the rumor, they add a little flair, a little color, a little extra emotional shading. Before long, it stops being a rumor and becomes folklore. And folklore is sticky. It clings to everything. It weaves itself into every future moment, whether it belongs there or not. Maybe Gwen laughs softly in an interview, and suddenly people say it sounds tight, like she's hiding something. Kelly posts a photo and looks a little tired, and someone says, well, she must be stressed about the drama. Blake says he's been busy, and the crowd collectively decides, relationship tension. As if the man isn't allowed to simply be tired from working. And that's what fascinates me about all this. It's not the rumor itself. It's how much people love turning human moments into epic stories. Like we're all hungry for narrative arcs. Heartbreak beats, redemptions, betrayals, and reconciliations. We watch celebrities like characters because it's easier than admitting our own lives, sometimes feel just as dramatic. And maybe that's why this whole Gwen Kelly Blake triangle caught so much fire, because in it, people see little slivers of themselves. The fear of being talked about behind your back, the discomfort of feeling judged by someone who seems to have it all together, the awkwardness of being caught in the middle of two people you care about, the insecurity that creeps in when you wonder if your partner once confided in someone else more than they do with you, or the guilt of having said something you regret about a friend without meaning any harm. All that messy human stuff suddenly feels universal. And even though there's no real evidence that any of this drama actually happened, everything is built on old clips, wild assumptions, and pure creative energy. The emotions people assign to it are real. That's what keeps the rumor alive. People don't relate to facts. They relate to feelings. And so the story keeps growing. Like a bonfire, people can't help but throw more sparks into. But somewhere inside this huge fictional narrative, there's a nugget of truth about how relationships work, especially in the spotlight. Even in real friendships where nothing dramatic is happening, jealousy can creep in quietly. Insecurity can show up without knocking. People can misunderstand each other from a single sentence. And when your personal life becomes public entertainment, every misstep becomes a headline. It makes you wonder how anyone in that world keeps their sanity, especially with millions of spectators convinced they understand your heart better than you do. And at some point in imagining all this, you kind of want to pause and breathe and remind yourself that these are real people with very real lives that probably look nothing like the narrative being written about them online. Which honestly brings me back to something I said earlier, because it feels like a good place to repeat it, and the more I sit with it, the more I think that maybe the reason people get so hooked on this whole rumor, this imagined tension between Gwen and Kelly, and the quiet heaviness the internet puts on Blake is because it taps into that part of us that fears losing control of how we're seen. It's strange, isn't it? How much it matters to all of us, even outside the spotlight. You could be living your normal life, going to work, trying your best, and suddenly someone misreads your silence as attitude, or your tired face as anger, or your boundaries as hostility. And just like that, you're cast as the villain in someone else's story. And you don't even know it until it's too late. When you think of it like that, it becomes easier to understand why people imagine Gwen spiraling, or Kelly feeling misunderstood, or Blake feeling pulled in two directions. Not because any of it really happened, but because it mirrors things we've all felt. We've all had those moments where we wished we could freeze the room and explain ourselves better, or where we desperately hoped the people we love would defend us when we weren't around. And in some twisted way, gossip stories like this let people explore those emotions from a safe distance. Like watching a storm through a window instead of standing in the rain. If this video brought you something useful, or just made your day a bit brighter, drop a like, subscribe, or share it forward. That simple gesture keeps the whole thing moving. And maybe that's the beauty and the curse of stories like this. They entertain us, distract us, give us a place to put our own emotions. But they also remind us that we're all just trying to get through life without being misunderstood by the people who matter most. So I'll leave you with this, kind of like a soft landing after all that messy rumor energy. Have you ever had a moment when someone completely misread your intentions and built a whole story in their head about you? And if you could go back to that moment now, what's the one thing you wish you could have said to clear the air?